So you're 13, 14 years old. You realize I'm gonna close this door so it doesn't get any louder in here. So you're 13 or 14 years old. You realize that you got kicked out of school because you were just you weren't getting the mental stimulation that was needed for you to be engaged in it. But from there you found yourself actually just doing something with your time that just led to your passion.
Indeed, I've always liked Legos and like building blocks and things like that. But then, I got into computers when I was homeschooled, and I had a mentor who took me to a LAN party, and I was like, okay, I play console games, but like now we got these PCs, we're playing Unreal Tournament, and like you have this network adapter, and all these laptops and stuff are hooked together, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. And so I just started taking computers apart, and then finding out that like people were like, oh, they gave me positive affirmations for like helping them fix their computer, things like that. So I was like, all right, if I fix your computer, can you give me your old computer? And because
Mhm.
at the time, although I was into technology, I didn't have like access to technology. Like I couldn't just go to the store and buy it. I was selling laptops, but I couldn't even afford the laptops I was selling. So I was
Right.
like, well, if I fix your laptop, can you give me your old one? And I found out about Linux, and I was like, let me put Linux on here, and now I have a new machine. And like that was kind of the spark. But
Yeah.
despite all this technology, like just doing it for fun, academically, like I still wasn't one that was astute in STEM. Like I didn't really like science, technology. I was like, all right, I really like reading, writing, history, storytelling. And
Yeah.
so I'm going through high school. I have this USB drive on my neck and like I help my teachers with projectors and stuff.
Yeah.
But I still didn't do well in SAT, ACT. My counselor was like, Eric, you maybe can go to a community college at max. And she was actually kind of right. I applied to Delaware State University, which is HBCU in Delaware, and even they, that's where I ended up going. They provisionally accepted me. They're like, Eric, we don't know how you're going to do, so you need to take these summer classes, prove yourself. And so my thing when I got to college, I was like, all right, I know I love technology. People say I have a gift here, but like, what am I going to do to pass? Like, how am I going to like get through? So I studied communications and philosophy. But all the people on campus were like, Eric, they called me computer love. They're like, this dude like really loves computers. So like all the computer sciences people, like I'm in all their clubs. I'm over here hacking, doing different things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
long story short, my junior year comes up, right? And a recruiter from Monsanto, is a biotechnology company, comes to the campus. They're like, we're recruiting for like IT pros to go and spend time with us in St. Louis for 6 months to a year working in our department and getting full credit for it. I'm like, dude, that's me. But
Right.
when I go to the counselor, they're like, oh well, you're not a STEM major, you're not eligible to like apply. I'm like, well, let me just have a conversation. I'm
Right.
sales, right? So I'm like, I can if I have a conversation, we'll see what the possibilities are.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I had a conversation. Says, you know what? You seem like you have a lot of experience. You seem like you're really confident in your skills and abilities. How about you go interview? If you get accepted with the best in the world, you belong there. I'm like, I'm with that. So they
There we
flew me to
go.
St. Louis. I was one of many that got accepted, the only black person in my cohort.
Yeah.
I was there for 7 months. They offered me a full-time position. I was like, well, I'm gonna come back to school. And then
Yeah.
when I came back, I was like, I get how this works. This is the real life.
Right.
I could be a technologist. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna
absolutely.
make this worse. And so, long
Man,
story short,
man.
did some stuff on campus. Became Mr. Delaware State University. Went to Thurgood Marshall Leadership Institute. Got a full-time job with Microsoft. Did that for a decade plus.
Incredible story.
Yeah.
I love that story because man, honestly, it is literally it's amazing just hearing that. It's literally what I've been talking about so much, especially right now. So I'll kind of because of your story, I'll kind of just start off where I'm at right now, which is I this week we actually started our next cohort for a training program called Tech Founder Pro, right? And before it was called Tech Founder Pro, it was called Nova Code Academy.
Okay.
And so it was a coding boot camp. I've been in software engineering for about 10 years now. Now, the reason why we changed it from Nova Code Academy to Tech Founder Pro is because right now there needs to be a lot more intimacy of developing software and business skills, right? in order for there to be a continuance of the healthy, vibrant startup community and success in business, there needs to be more consideration about you're not just right now, you're not just being a programmer because especially with the disruption of artificial intelligence, people can program way more than ever before with limited people. Now, instead, people need to come in as consultants, as experts, as tech experts into any environment that they're in. So, and one of the core catalysts is just looking at the education system. Like you realize that you weren't getting stimulated in the way that would, being engaged in education, but you were still, of course, um, very mentally active, right? You're a problem solver from a young age. And then also even you're studying philosophy, it's another example of being mentally active. However, it's so interesting that many people face this issue where they don't see themselves as being in technology because they haven't had the opportunity to get that mentally engaging stimulation of learning how to actually just building something. You know,
Hmm.
it's something that when you're doing it, it it like it just encompasses you. It's just like playing basketball, where what you lose track of time and you just go,
Flow.
man, this is something that just happened through me, right? So man, that's interesting, and I guess it'll be proper to kind of tell you a little bit about my stories. It's actually quite parallel. Um, I I started programming actually after I graduated from college. All right. So and I took one computer science class in college, only one. And that was actually the only class that I ever stopped going to halfway into the semester, but not even halfway. I stopped going probably about 2 months into it. And it wasn't until so after I graduate college, I knew that I studied art and psychology. I started off psychology, but I transferred into art because I always felt like if I wasn't building something, I felt like I was wasting my time.
Hmm.
So at least with art, you get the opportunity to express yourself, learn about other people that express themselves, understand the philosophy, the mindset behind the people that were, creating these things. Like even up till now, when if I go to a museum, I can understand based off of the artwork, I can understand what was going on in society around that time,
Hmm.
right? So these are kind of that was like the lens, and then giving myself the opportunity to also create. So after I graduate, I have a apprenticeship as a tailor. I
Okay.
was
Wow.
Yes,
Man.
yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
making tailored suits, man. It was actually in Beverly Hills too. So I knew that
Wow.
if I'm going to be doing anything, I got to be on the best. It's the closest one to rodeo. So some people that go over to Beverly Hills, they might know which one I'm talking about. So I had an apprenticeship for a little bit of time over there. And then from there, I have a twin brother. He's getting his master's and in the Berkeley School of Music. He was studying music and business. And so he had an idea for an app. Excuse me. He had an idea for an app that he wanted to develop. And the issue is that if you have an idea for an app, you have to either give away equity in order to be able to have somebody else build it, or you'll fundraise in order to be able to pay somebody to build it for you, or you go ahead and build it yourself.
Hmm.
So from there, he decided to go to a coding boot camp. He's going to the coding boot camp, and my family goes, "Oh, you know what? You should try this out too." And I'm going, man, I'm trying to be this artist. I'm focused on this. But literally, as soon as I tried it out, I did my first Hello World. I fell in love with it right away. I was like, man, that hello world can say anything that I want it to say. I could be, what up, Eric? It could turn it to a button. It could say whatever I wanted to say. I could add more things to it. So it became creative. and man, from there, I started competing in hackathons. I won my first couple of hackathons, and it was interesting for me because I realized later on in hindsight that actually my art perspective on product lends so much to success, both the art and psychology, that mindset that I have, it lends so much to the success of creating products and being able to present and things like that. And then worked with startups, incredible startups, worked with different small companies to large companies. And man, I came over to Texas when I started working for one of the largest tech consulting companies, TCS. And I was working on a contract with City. They realized that I have a skill not just with programming, but being able to communicate. So I got a promotion. I got a couple of promotions in their talent development team.
Okay.
Uh, it started off with just they would fly me to different parts of the country, or fly me to different parts of the country where I would do kind of like kind of like TED Talk events, teaching technical skill, whether it be for Android or Angular and stuff like that. And then from there, I actually got another promotion to be one of their lead instructors for their IOP program, where I would be responsible for teaching like full stack development, uh,
Okay.
for like sometimes upward up to like 70 students at one time. So,
Wow.
just learning all these different, having all these experiences. Then from there, having all this skill, been able to build my own products. One of the ones that we're like really excited about, I've been building it since like 2017, is it's called Wazzle AI. And
Okay.
what we built is we built in an artificial intelligence powered contact book. So
Okay.
it's created to help people remember
Uh,
the name of everybody
And
that they need.
let me guess, does it have a capability? So, for example, we had a conversation today that says,
Yeah.
"Hey, you haven't talked to Eric in like 3 weeks or 3 months." Does it have that feature as far as kind of bringing back
Yeah.
your touch points?
So right now, we're still at like the the core of what it does right now is with memory. But as far as like the relationship management, that's like the continuous direction that we're heading towards.
Okay.
So in terms of like to what you're talking about, like that, like the relationship management features, uh, like we're gonna be having like dashboards for pretty much like your Spotify roundup,
Hmm.
where you're able to see like, man, this is what you were listening to. These are, this is what your mood, your vibe, and everything like
Oh,
that.
wow. That
Yeah,
is so dope.
we're gonna have that for like your relationships, right? So like, these are the people, these are the groups, because you're able to easily categorize like create groups and add people to groups and stuff like that. You'll be able to get insight into your who you are as a person via your communication style. Like
Hmm.
if you meet a lot of
Discovery.
yeah, you meet a lot of people, but you don't, forge a lot of relationships, or you don't, turn that into actual communication, because communication is the life force of any relationship. You know, we're gonna be able to help people understand, how to actually manage it and build relationships.
Man, that is so deep and profound. And what I'm going to say this pause here, like what you've done is exactly the philosophy I'm pushing. And
Mhm.
it's a book I'm reading right now called The Medici Effect, I believe. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, Medici Effect.
Medici?
Huh?
Is it Medici or
Oh, I think it's Medici. Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Basically it's about the intersection of whenever you're taking different related things together,
Hmm.
at the intersection is able to have new innovation. But essentially what's interesting about society is sometimes we're always focused on the tech, but at the end of the day we're still humans, we have human nature, and we ultimately want to have connect and presence. And
Right.
so the thing is, like, because we're so behind the screens, we don't always build those social skills. And so
Hmm.
if the technology which you're describing can
Right.
assist me in being able to discover, like, here are the themes, Eric, of the conversations you've been having, or at least the themes of the profiles of the people you've been interacting with.
Right.
And here's how you can be more intentional about fostering a relationship. And here are the conversations, or here are the topics that maybe you have in common. And here's best practices on being able to communicate that effectively. That's something that for those who are thinkers or those who are communicators, it comes naturally, but it's not for everyone. So the technology assists that process of saying, how do I become more personable, that's
Hmm.
value.
Yeah, absolutely right there, man. Like there's so much that in society, like we think that it's going to be, we think that a lot of the stuff is just innate, but it's a skill. Even like people think that soft skills, because they're called soft skills, that they're just like innate or they're easy to learn. Like, no, soft skills are still skills that take effort to learn, just like technical skills. So if somebody doesn't find themselves as being a good communicator, some people, like one of the largest issues going on right now, we see all of the different videos is like the relationship world, right? The dynamics of man to woman and all this stuff, right? Like that, right? Well, those things are still, it's a skill. There's information that goes into it in order to be successful. And a lot of times in society we think just like, well, that person's an adult, I'm an adult, we should all just understand and have the skill of communication and building relationships. No, if it wasn't taught, you cannot expect it. Right.
No, man, this is phenomenal. Well, I think you commented on one of my posts, and I was like, man, let me reach out just to see more about what you're doing. And then you showed me the YouTube video, and I'm like, I have a lot of experience in extended reality, and that's an area of focus I've been. But my scope is much broader than that. But most people come to me for that in particular.
Mhm.
And so I've just been putting things out there. But I definitely am a fan of your work on YouTube. And the first thing that came to mind is like, yeah, he's an artist. Like I saw the music, the vibe. I'm like, yeah, he's definitely cultural in general. And so was curious about you and what's your area of focus in this season. But I know one of the things that came to mind when I saw your YouTube videos, one, do you edit your own videos or like do you do the whole process? Um,
Man, I'm lucky to work with some incredible people. I record the videos and got my guy Zach that does the editing for my YouTube, my Instagram. Man, it takes a team in order to build a presence. It takes a lot of effort, man. Way more than I knew. But yeah, man, we're real proud of what we've created so far. And I say, and I want to tell people that I have less than 100 followers right now on YouTube. The reason why I say that is because it's about the content that you've created. It's about what you've created. And like you're saying, like you were able to see the quality of it
mhm.
before many other people have been able to come across it. So it's a journey for all the people that are going to be going on the journey of creating their brand, of creating their presence, letting the world know about who they are, all the things that they're bringing to the game. Focus in on just iterating and continuing to improve your quality, and I believe that everybody's going to get there that is persistent.
No, well, definitely a fan of the work that I've seen and the work that you're doing as far as workforce development. I think that's just something that's necessary. There's lots of programs out there, and I think the more accessible they are for those who are considering making transitions or wanting to learn, I think it's important to the fact that we talked about earlier that everyone has different learning styles,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
sometimes you may take a computer science class in college, it's like it's not the thing, but when you go and take a boot camp, it's like all right. I have an intention of like building a skill that can help me with my economic mobility or get a job, or just give me confidence in building something with context. And so everyone learns in different places, but I think one of the core themes I'm hearing is that it's hard to do it alone. And so
Yeah,
whether you have people to do it with, and mentors or support or a community is super valuable. And everyone has their own community. And so if you're in proximity locally or have ability to scale virtually, very powerful. And so
yeah.
definitely encouraging what you're doing and happy to support where I can.
Hey, cheers. And like even with yourself, like I've been able to see, just take a look and I go, oh man, this person is doing a lot of incredible things. And like like the core thing that I want to say is like, look at the amount of skill and talent that are in our community. We have people that are incredibly skilled, incredibly brilliant, and like we are truly capable. of creating great innovation. Like, I've been a founder of my own applications, things that I built from scratch and have been able to publish to the store, to the app stores, and able to teach other people how to do these things. Like, you're a straight up visionary to be starting from 14 and 15 and working from Microsoft, going to the most prestigious of education to, areas. And now we're talking about, what are the things that were the catalyst for this conversation is us exploring the spatial engineering with, Apple Vision Pros, and just considering what the future looks like, whether that is truly, compelling hardware and software. So I just say that to say, like, there's no ceilings when we merge. First of all, um like community is very, very important. Emotional intelligence, one of the words
Mm.
that I say so much, because I feel like emotional intelligence is what prevents our community from collaborating and maintaining long-term business relationships. Is like, just and I just say, for us as a culture, to continue to cultivate emotional intelligence, learn about it, read about it, practice it, and then from there just continue to build our technical and business understanding so that we can create all of the innovation, that's stored within us, because it's endless, just in the same way that I believe the way that we innovate in music, the way that we innovate in athletics, the way that we innovate in every arena. I think that we're on the precipice, or I don't know if that's the right word, but I think that we are, on the verge of another, technical innovation period. And I think that our culture is going to be a large part of that.
No, I agree, and I think one of the things you hit on is something that I'm gonna borrow, if you don't mind, the emotional intelligence piece. I have the opportunity to speak to an HBCU conference tomorrow at Morgan State University. I think there'll be a lot of other HBCUs there too, and I'm on a panel focusing on innovation. And I think one of the things I've been thinking about, and what you said kind of brings it full circle for me, is that like we do have the talent. We have like the person who created the protocol for Zoom
Yeah,
and Teams, and she a black woman.
yeah,
The person who created the search engine internet, a black man.
right.
I think, but what happens is those IP goes to other companies, and people go and take advantage. Like, how is that benefiting our community in
Right.
particular? And oftentimes because we don't necessarily have the community, or we haven't necessarily cultivated the relationships in a way to be able to have it for us by us. Not to say
Yeah.
it should always be that way, but as I
Mhm.
think about the HBCU community in particular, I'm like, well, there are a lot of students going to have great ideas, but
Mhm.
we're thinking about technology. But I'm also going to switch it to your point of saying, well, let's think about how we're able to think about building community and the
Right.
aspects of being able to make sure we have great relationships to be able to see this all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that that's going to be incredibly powerful. I think to me, I personally think it's one of the core missing links, and when as we continue to grow in this area, and of course, like, because we're natural innovators, in my opinion, I think that merging that innovation with emotional intelligence and building community, I think that that'll be really powerful for the world. Man,
Well,
yeah, dude, I just wanted to say, once again, thanks for your time. I think this should definitely be the first of
oh,
many
for
to come
sure.
in the future. And man, have a terrific one, man.
You as well. I'll be in touch.
All right, cheers.